All right, welcome to the Augur meeting here on September 30th, 2025. Today is the day we have to wake up Billy Joel Armstrong of Green Day. For those of you unfamiliar, he sings "Wake Me Up When September Ends." It is over today. Issues and PRs. I saw a couple open yesterday, Adrian. I don't know if there's any that you want to draw our immediate attention to.
Oh gosh, I'm not that prepared.
It's okay. That was a little unfair of me.
Me on. Um,
Uh,
I think Callie was having some issues with the reports on the Augur front end. So like if you click on a repository from the repository list, um, I
on the
think
front end.
yeah, like a couple of
Oh,
the
those are,
images are failing to generate, and
yeah,
it's
we haven't
causing
been.
exceptions, and then it's taking for it's like having to wait the full 180-second timeout for the images to generate before the front end
Oh,
becomes responsive again.
really?
Yeah, so I put a whole bunch of I added on a whole bunch of stack traces and a whole bunch of stuff for
Okay.
that. But it sounds like those that dashboard, those graphics were kind of around before 8 naught. So I almost wonder
Yeah.
if we could just deprecate that in favor of 8 naught or something. Or like Callie suggested, maybe replace it with like collection metrics.
Oh,
Like, hey, here's when
oh,
this was last collected and stuff.
absolutely. Absolutely. That is exactly what needs to be done there. Um, it's possible that one of these is a little bit worse, but it's the front end becomes not responsive.
Yeah, but it was weird because I think it's only like for example, I think when Callie was doing it and it was unresponsive on her machine, I was still able to access it fine until I tried to load a report, like the
Interesting.
graphs, and then it became unresponsive for me. So I think it's not super like the impact is maybe less, but it's still a problem and
Yeah, I mean, 100%. That's all right, that works. All right, I'll have to look at why flower dashboard is up. I may just not have it mapped correctly. In any case, okay. I certainly believe that. Like there's no that's 100% like I get it. Um so uh this seems like a priority. Go back and see if there's any others that have come up.
Oh yeah, y'all are talking about the one that I was about to put down. I think another thing to think about priority wise is repositories getting their URLs updated to the proper link. I already have an issue open for this. We talked about it before, but it's starting to come up more and more. Um,
Is it this one? Associate new URL with one used to originally load?
yeah, so pretty much if they change the name of the URL, the URL's name, like the URL value in Augur is not getting updated. You click on it, there's multiple examples. So, um,
Uh,
and you can see, yeah, you just read through. We've had this conversation a few times.
yeah. So it looks like I had trouble replicating it, so looks like maybe there might be some new steps I can follow.
I mean, there's just, if you have a, like, you just need to know about what repositories in your instance have had a URL change. So these are URLs that have that we've had in ours. I don't know what's in yours. There's two issues that are linked below as well of repositories that people are asking to load in that I'm just having to tell them that it's under a different link. Because it does exist, it's just not under the name under the URL they expect it to be on.
Okay. Um,
If you have any Apache,
yeah,
uh,
Apache's changed a lot.
yeah, that's kind of what I had commented back in July. So you could probably look at Apache and see the issue if you look at your own database. Um, yeah, and after this, I wanted to talk about commit collection on large repositories because ours seems like slow. Um, like will take weeks before it completes if it continues at the current rate that it's on.
So when we've talked about this a little bit in the when the maintainers chat, we've I think it's clear from the testing that we're doing that this is a cycle that occurs in large instances of Augur that has a lot of large commit count instances where this when it goes through, it's going through by lowest commit count first, and so when it gets to this larger collection of large repos, it does get bogged down finishing those largest repos. And I think the solution that we've discussed that makes the most sense to me is having some lanes. I call them lanes. I don't know if that's the right technical term, set aside for smaller repo rotation and only allow repos over a certain number of commits into the big repo lanes so that effectively there's always something in the big repo space being collected, and it's then not holding up what I'd call the more ordinary or mortal
I
repo.
guess so. Is it expected that a large repository like that should take weeks to finish collecting? Like, is that expected behavior?
What's not expected is, I think what's definitely not designed for is running 20 of those repos through Augur at the same time. That's definitely where we're having performance issues on the large repos, is that we're doing so many of them at once. The other thing that we think we can optimize and think we need to be careful about how we do it and how we explain it is currently it will reanalyze all of the commits each time. This ensures that the commit count always reflects what is publicly available, roughly up to a point in time about that repository. We could, in most cases, it would be more than sufficient that in terms of what people look at to say that we're just going to count the commits from the last time that we finished counting the commits. And then once we had counted a large repository the first time, it wouldn't get recounted a second time, with the miss that I think I just explained being if in fact they do a lot of refactoring and then do commit a bunch of what do you call word escapes me, scrunching the commits, squashing the commits. Thank you. That would potentially remain in the commit log on Augur after it didn't exist any longer elsewhere. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So, and
Yeah,
I
I
think,
definitely, because like and you're probably in the same spot where it's like it's now just like even though we only have like 8 repositories, like big ones that don't have collection, it like doesn't matter, and the collection's kind of completely bottlenecked like at this point and has been for a long time.
yeah, these are
I
all very,
guess something
yeah,
we
all
could
of
do
mine.
is up the number of tasks. I mean, if you're doing, I guess what should be in the consideration with upping the number of facade tasks?
I mean, I think we can. I think we just want to like balance. We want to balance that against the core tasks. So I think if we up the facade tasks, we probably want to dial back the rate of core collection. And I think that's fine right now because it sounds like in practice, I'm experiencing this in my test instance. I think I'm getting farther behind on the facade collection than I am on the core collection. With
Oh
a
yeah, I mean ours is like it's a 6 months difference.
Yeah, so I think given that reality space,
What do you have? Can we look at yours? So if you open up Flower,
we're
um,
running. I don't have core collecting right now for the particular tests that I'm doing.
so you have 50 and 20.
Yeah, which is the max if you have an adequately sized machine. Augur takes your VMEM cap and calculates the number of CPUs and the amount of memory, and then determines how many processes to run based on some multiplier. So like if you're below 2050 at the outset, that just means that your hardware is sized slightly smaller than what we think would be necessary to run that. But the proportions are what can be adjusted. So the proportions are 90, 50, 20 right now with core being 90. We could we could sort of balance that a little bit more like
When does it does when does it do that calculation? Does it do that every time it starts up or only on
yeah,
initial build?
when it starts up. If you want to tweak it, the the place that you can tweak it is the vmem cap parameter in the Augur operations config table, and you can just up that percentage.
Adrian, would you be able to try that out today?
However,
Uh,
but to if we want to change the number of active jobs, I think this gets into we've talked about making that something modifiable in the user interface. I'm not sure that we're going to get there quickly, but I think we can change the defaults for how many of each run. And I might suggest that we make it like 50 facade, 50 core, and 50 secondary. Just make those the defaults.
Yeah, I'm I think I'm struggling to think about like kind of the long-term stuff versus trying to just try like I think I'm really only focused on at the exact moment like what can we change at our parameters right now
Yeah.
to get facade going and then more on how to do the long-term stuff.
Well, Adrian, I mean, I don't want to, I'm going to put Adrian on the spot for the second time, and I apologize. Um, Adrian's the other person on the call who has been in some of the discussions we've had about the scheduler, and it's, I'm not certain that we've reached 100% sort of consensus or clarity about what the approach will be to create these lanes I described, or if we actually have committed to that fully.
I mean, I definitely like the idea of experimenting with that. Like, it sounded like that was a test that might be worth doing if someone wanted to tinker with, like, hey, if we separate out these large repositories into its own lane, does that, like, I
Yeah.
think it almost seems like we're still kind of exploring, like, what's the problem? Like, we definitely have a suspicion that it's the large commit repositories.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like I think more recently, I might have been a bit confusing recently when I was, I think I mentioned, like, I'm sort of, I feel like I'm still thinking about that in more of a testing realm, just because I'm like, I'm not super sure if like the long-term best fix for this is to just add more complexity to the scheduling system with these separate lanes and all that. Like
Yeah.
I'm wondering if there's ways, like if is there a different problem? And because I think Callie and I discussed a little while ago, um, how I think it seems like some of the analyze commits portions of facade, um, especially for large repositories, like it's going to go through and reanalyze all of the commits in the repository, um, even if maybe it only pulls down a dozen or so new commits. So I like, are there kind of other ways we can make
Right.
Augur
Yeah,
more
that's a,
efficient so that maybe we don't need to necessarily have additional lanes because we can have some optimizations for that. And I think that's kind of what led to the, oh, what if repositories like are squashing commits all the time and like we pull down the commits, but they're all completely different. Like obviously in that case we want to like then you'd have some complex logic in there for handling that. So I guess it's almost just like where do we want to put the complexity? But I mean, I think for a test, I think yeah, let's experiment with potentially all of these options and just see
um,
like
yeah, I'm looking at the pull requests because there we go. So this is Isaac's created a branch uh, called partial repo collection facade that does accomplish this. Right now, it's the last time I checked, he only had it as a draft. It looks
While you're
like,
looking at that,
yeah.
Adrian, do you know like what you need to do to be able to up our instance to, I would say, I think 20 tasks for facade?
I think so. It sounded like I just was go into the config table and change that percentage, I guess, and then restart Augur.
Sounds good. Yeah, I think so. If you have any questions, just send it in. Um, but yeah, let's try that out today and
Is
see what
there a particular
happens.
like is it going to be clear like set it to a particular percentage like what is there a value that I should set that to for having it be the 20 tasks? Or is that, I guess that's based on the number of like CP like memory or
Yeah, that's
something.
a question for Sean, but I think
What is the question for Sean?
I was just trying to figure out like you guys mentioned I should try upping our instances like the memory percentage or something. Like is there a particular value I should set that to for the target of 20 tasks that Callie was mentioning?
Yep. Um,
I think we've
so
seen that line of code before. I just don't
if you're
remember.
not hitting 20, so the issue is that you're not hitting 20 right now, right?
20, yeah, it's like an arbitrary number. Right now we're at 10, and I think that we should try to have more tasks for facade.
What's the,
As
when you first started, does the number get to 20?
no, it's the max is
Okay.
10.
All right. So I'm just gonna make everybody blind and squinty. But the table that you go to under Augur operations is config.
Yeah, I know where to go. I'm just curious at
Okay.
what value it should be.
Oh, okay. So let me show you. So worker process vmem cap. I have mine sent to 0.4. Mine set to 0.4. I have a pretty beefy machine though. So whatever
Yeah, it looks
it's
like it's a percentage. So is that a percentage of like
it's a subs it's less than one. Between 0 and 1 is the range for this value. So I'm at 0.4. So the closer you get to 1, the more gas you're giving the car effectively. Does that make sense?
so if I put it to 1, would that be a full 50
I think
tasks?
that's I wouldn't go that high. I would start at like if you're going to be aggressive, I would start at like 0.8 or 0.9.
But like what is like I'm just trying to curious like what's like it's if that's a fraction, like what's the absolute like what's that controlling? Is that like percent
That's
like
so
if I set to 1 that'd be 50 tasks, so zero point 0.5 would be 25 tasks. Like is that kind of how that works?
it's not that linear. It's calculating, it's taking a look at the system and determining how many CPUs and how much RAM is on that machine. And then it's shaving off some amount of like 20% for just basic system operations. And it's saying, okay, if I allocate 80% or 40% of what remains to Augur, does this change how many max processes in each case? And so I don't know off the top of my head what the ceiling is, but it looks and sees, there's 90 is the default for core, 50 is the default for secondary, and 20 is the default for facade. So if the system resources are less than what we determined they ought to be at a minimum, then we shave down the number of each processes, basically equivalent to their percentage already.
I'm just surprised um that our instances that would be considered by Augur less resource than it should be.
I don't know that we're saying less resource than it should be. I think we're trying to hold the machine back for whatever its configuration is from, choking on itself. We're trying
Yeah.
to keep Augur from causing a system shutdown. So it's like a
Yes. I'm
fail
just
safe.
saying that like maybe we should be considering what the specs should be to be able to run a little bit higher, and if it's a very non-neg if the cost is not that much, it seems like a pretty
Yeah.
clear shift because our Augur instance is we have 64 CPU and 124 memory.
I mean, so the CPU, I don't think Augur would calculate as light. It might calculate the memory as light, but we assume for, in those calculations that they assume that the database is possibly being run on the same metal or the same container. So if you,
Oh yeah, does make a big difference.
so
Because
so upping it to 0.8 or 0.9, I think you could probably do in this case. The other consideration that I hadn't thought about until we started talking about it is since you're running these in Docker containers, somebody should also just double check how much CPU and memory of that EC2 instance is allocated for the Docker container you're running in. You could be running 48 CPUs or 64 CPUs, but if only 20 of them are set aside for the container, that's what Augur will see.
Adrian, would you be able to look into that?
Yep.
And it's like if you're using Podman, I think it's there's just some Podman commands that will tell you that pretty quick, I think. All right, so I'll stop sharing this. So other so I think one thing I might ask is maybe if some of these experiments we get Adrian to help start working on some of them, that might be very helpful.
I could
Um,
potentially try running what was the pull request you pulled up earlier, I think from Isaac. I could potentially try running that and just see. I don't.
Yeah, I think a test of this would be helpful. All it's supposed to do, and when I read it, it looks like it would do that, is stop recollecting all the commits after you got it one time. So the test for that would be get 3 get 3 to 5 very large repos.
and you're saying to test this locally, Adrian?
Yeah,
That was my plan, yeah, but I was
Yeah.
also just
Augur
thinking like I
instance.
don't really have any like I guess this is the large repo issue, not the rename issue. Okay. Sorry,
Right.
I was getting my pull request and my issues
Um,
confused.
Yeah, the rename one is a little bit more difficult to replicate on a new to like I guess you could just collect on a repository that's yours and then change the name of it. But yeah, that one is a little bit more difficult to not test on like a more production environment or a environment that has a lot of older repositories because people change the names a lot.
By truncate, do you mean like just clear the
empty,
table, basically?
empty. Yeah, that'll just force in the test case. That just forces it to recollect.
Adrian's here where I stopped our Augur instance just so I could do some cleanup stuff before turning it back on with the higher number of workers.
Okay, did you change the number of workers or am I still doing that?
Um, I guess, or if you could do that, that'd be good. I'm just doing some query stuff. I'm just clearing out the pull request file duplicates and the release duplicates while we have it down.
Hey, Adrian, I'm gonna tag you to review that pull request for the filter.
Yep, sounds good.
Because then if we get two reviews, um, we can merge it and run that test out of main, which is what we ought to be doing, right?
Um, Also, Sean, the on 8 not our main is has the first round of the redesign done in case you're wanting to upgrade your instance.
Oh, so yeah, I had asked Adrian, I think probably before you were on the call, if 8 not is this new version was released. Is it publicly available anywhere for us to look at?
Yeah, I mean it's our like the instance that 8 not
Uh, I know what
that
that is.
Red
8
Hat runs.
not.osci.io. Ooh, much cleaner there. Check it out. I mean, I think you've gotten a lot of compliments on the new color scheme.
Yeah.
And of course, I love that. I like the left nav a lot better too, honestly. I've
Yeah,
always,
that will be there's going to be a pretty big, not as big as what we just did, but there probably in the next week or two will there will only be one visualization per row, and the visualizations will names will be in the drop down where you can click and just go down to the one that you'd like to see. So some
interesting.
it's a little bit of a different setup, but I think it's a lot more user friendly.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Like pe people don't always scroll all the way, so I think they can. I think the biggest advantage will be that it makes the whole of 8 not visible a little bit easier at a glance because people
Yes.
don't always scroll. Um, I would be, if you're asking my opinion, and nothing is well served by unsolicited opinions more than software design, he said sarcastically. It would be good if every time if you're going to like list all of the vises on in a location, I think it would be good if like every time I clicked the top level one, it made sure to compress or roll back up the other ones that had been expanded. So the expansion
Yeah.
isn't allowed to go all the way down the page and cause the same scrolling problem.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a
That's
little
what we
bit of
have
a
in mind.
yeah, it's a little bit of a control freakish thing, but I think preventing people from turning the interface into something they can't follow again is useful. This is great. I just love the new color scheme. I love the new nav scheme. I also frankly love the fact that you're now letting me expand this or not. So it makes this a lot cleaner. Just love it, love it, love it. Um, all right. And I don't know who owns this.
Yeah, I put that on there. That was just based on some conversations in Slack that I think were happening a little bit just before the meeting.
Okay.
I don't know if anyone noticed there was a contributor that showed up and was just asking about. I think they were trying to run Augur locally, and it seemed like
Uh,
they were not seeing the commit counts in the Augur UI update.
right, right.
They eventually figured out that they had to run the materialized views, but they were kind of wondering like, I mean, I sort of agree. Like, it sounds like the docs probably could use it. At least the docs could use updating to just say, hey, this is by default set on like a daily schedule. If you're in development, and you want to update it more faster, like either run this query or maybe we can make it part of the CLI or something like just some ways to make that more clear, just so that other people don't. Because I feel like a lot of people really do kind of depend on what the UI says to kind of know what's going on. Um,
Yeah, I 100% see how that could be confusing. There's a we can make it more clear in the documentation, of course. I think that's a good suggestion, and it's a good suggestion. If I'm thinking also, and I think this maybe makes it more complex, but I would say like under like let's say if I'm a developer and I'm just figuring things out, under 100 repos might be a good like course benchmark to say, you know what, we'll let these things refresh more often or every time a repo finishes. Um, I wonder if putting a refresh hook that could be triggered for smaller instances more frequently might solve some of this as well. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, Adrian.
I mean, I think I was thinking along similar lines as far as just like automating it, but I'm a little bit hesitant to add complexity.
Yeah,
Um, I
likewise.
feel like it might be good just like especially if I kind of almost like the having it be something that like whoever's running or whoever's maintaining the like if you're starting up an instance for development, like a lot of people like that are potentially considering actually like deploying Augur in prod maybe at some point in the future. And so it's like I feel like it's almost a good to have them like know about how it learn how it works a bit instead of having everything just be fully automatic.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm not sure. Like maybe I mean maybe we could do like a faster refresh as like a condition, like if you're running it with like a development flag, like the debug flag or something that one. I assume we already have something like that, but like we
there
could
is
say,
a
hey,
there's
is
a
Augur in development mode or debug mode? And if there's less than 100 repos, then yeah, refresh every time.
Yeah,
Um,
or this other thought just occurred to me is that these materialized views, well, okay, never mind. Never mind. I'd failed to consider the 8 knot dependency. Um, Another possibility is if you're in dev mode, we could make all the materialized views just ordinary views. They would get referenced in the same code in the same way.
wouldn't that require a schema change? Like, wouldn't
Well, it would, yeah, that's the piece I was trying to figure out how to trigger safely because it would either require that the views have a slightly different name or yeah, or a schema change. So yes, that's it's a little bit harder to flip a bit on that as I think the idea through. So maybe that is not something to pursue.
yeah, I mean, I think we can definitely. I can try and see. I can probably talk to the person a little bit more and just see like what docs did they were they looking at to kind of when they got started, like where would be best to kind of add those. Um, and then I'll try and see maybe are they willing to like help like do they want to contribute that as like a first timer contribution or would they kind of rather one of us do it? So
Yeah, yeah, that would be great, Adrian. Absolutely fantastic.
and like I think if we wanted to like set like if we wanted to kind of go a little further than just a docs update, we could also maybe add like a like because I know that we already got an Augur CLI for like checking Git keys and all that. So maybe we could just add easy CLI thing that
Yeah,
just trigger a manual refresh and maybe it warns you if you're doing this with more than 200 repositories or something.
yeah, that's I think a very good idea as well.
Oh yeah, watch out for Adrian when you update the config. just make sure that it doesn't get overwritten by the config file if you're doing it through the um, database, just from issues we've
Oh,
had
the
before.
Docker, yeah, the Docker might need to be tweaked because I think you're right. I think some of those parameters are reinserted each time you rebuild your container.
Yeah, so it seems like the config file is probably the right place to update, not in the database itself.
Right. Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, I probably would have forgotten about that. So thanks.
There, sometimes only pain is a reminder. When you struggled through something so much, you seem to remember. But I'll let you know right now my query for cleaning out the duplicate PR files, which that'll be something I'm sure I will definitely bring up in a larger capacity once we get some of this stuff that we're talking about now wrapped up. But at least it's an easy fix. Because the pull request, we're still seeing duplicates on a couple of different things, and it seems like we know what the solution is. We just need to implement the solution. But since those have workarounds and the stuff we're talking about does not, I like to prioritize the stuff that does not have the workarounds.
That seems smart. Anything else that we need to cover this week, or are we at the conclusion of business?
That's all I have.
That is all I have as well. I'm sorry about the Astros, Callie.
Yeah, I don't really care. I honestly, like, which is crazy. I wish the Texans were better. I have won enough with the Astros, like where it
Yeah,
doesn't mean as much as it used to. When they won in 2017, it was like the best thing that ever happened to me.
yeah.
Um,
You talk
but
to a man, his team has never won it all. So
yeah, like that's kind of how I feel. I'm like, yeah, like I'd much rather for the zeitgeist that the Yankees and the Red Sox play in the first round on at this specific point in time. I'm
let them
like,
beat each other up.
I mean, it's just like more interesting.
Yeah,
Like it just is.
it's
I
the
don't
rest
really
of
follow the
America likes to
Astros
see
very.
that kind of East Coast on East Coast baseball as well.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. I'll be. I know that starts soon. I was looking at it yesterday because I think they were honestly. I thought that the Astros were doing so bad that they weren't even like in playoff contention.
They're
Seeing
pretty
that they
close to
were
the end.
yeah, they were kind of close. I'm like, ooh, that kind of sucks. But
Yeah, the Josh Hader injury is what tanked him, honestly. When he came up lame at the start of August, they just weren't the same.
yeah, they've like been losing.
Yeah.
Oh, they don't win. That's why it's like, okay, oh well, like I don't really care about them going to the playoffs 'cause I don't think they're gonna win in the
Huh.
playoffs. So
Yeah. Well,
I
that's
don't
a
need them
Brewers
to be
fan
there.
right there every year in a nutshell. We don't expect to win, but dang it, we're hopeful this year.
I'm so sorry that for the emotional pain you're about to go through.
I know, I know. I appreciate that. Last year was brutal. So
I'm already just upset about the Texans, so I had false hope.
the Texans are a good team. They're playing below their weight. They're punching below their weight right now. They I think they're gonna get better and possibly even make the playoffs.
See, that's the problem.
Oh, the hope. Hope is destructive to your psyche.
I just don't think like I expect them to make the playoffs. We're in a crappy enough division that like we should always make the playoffs. And so
Right.
the fact that we're even considering not making the playoffs means that like they're not good enough to do anything.
Stuff is bad. It also means the Colts have gotten really good,
Yeah.
um, for what it's worth. But yeah, I'm just gonna go through this whole week without having to worry about the wild card games. And then Saturday I will become an emotional wreck. until
Yay, baseball postseason.
such time as we win the World Series or lose.
All right. I think we're good to go. I'll talk to everybody later.
All right, see you everybody. Bye.